I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliette.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry. We're keeping it. Apologies Accepted.
The podcast. And I am confused, Juliette. No, wait. I am
That's
not
fine.
Theo.
I am unconfused. No, I'm not unconfused. It's catching. I'm not Juliette. I am unconfused, Theo. She is Juliette. And as you can tell, we're already starting off the rails. Here we go.
Yes. So, and it's going to be this way throughout the entire podcast, I'm sure. So first, though, I need to know what's shaken bacon.
What is shaken bacon is nothing but getting ready for summer.
Yay, summer.
Yay. Yeah, summer and 120-degree heat. Yay. We're going to love it.
We're going to love it.
I'm going to learn to love it. So let's see. So I've been collecting some books. I've got the Alison Bechdel books, summer reading.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Alison Bechdel just came out. Well, I guess it's been out for a while.
I heard about that.
Yeah, with it's kind of a memoir. It's kind of a fictionalized version of her life, right? Or she's already done that. She's already written about her childhood.
Yeah.
So this book is about what does a struggling hippie artist who was a name in counterculture do when all of a sudden heaps of money are piled upon her? And what does that look like? How do you deal with those feelings, right? How do you hold true to your beliefs
ideals
when you are compulsively shopping on Amazon?
That is so relatable.
Kind of high, yeah, it is. And so I'm only midway through, and it's a cartoon book. I should be done with it by now.
You started your summer reading? Is it summer already? I guess
well,
it is.
I couldn't help myself with this one.
50 degrees here, so okay, good.
It's summer here. It's been 100. It rained. Leaves are everywhere. The plants are like blooming like crazy because we've had so much water and so much sunshine.
Did you ever get those plants for those flowers? I forget what not foxgloves, or were they foxgloves for the front yard?
The foxgloves, yes. So I have 4 highly toxic flowering plants in my front yard, and they're beautiful, but
good.
They are super deadly. Well,
I want to see pictures.
They were beautiful, and then I didn't notice that the sprinkler system, the batteries died in it. It's a remote thing. It's a Home Depot, like, your dad put it in kind of a sprinkler system.
Yeah.
And the batteries died, so things weren't watered for about a month. And I was like, why is everything dying? And then one day I was like, the batteries are dead on this thing. I better, so they're coming back, and I will.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
And so absolutely in love with them, but also I've told James like 72 times, don't touch them. They are super poisonous and you will die. Don't eat the flowers. Don't smell them. Don't look at them. They are murderous. Yeah. And then I'll say like queuing up stuff to watch on TV. And can I think of one thing now that I'm like, we need to watch that? So let's save it for no, I can't think of a single thing, but building a watch list, right? Yeah. And so, and then this is not a long story, but a couple of our friends have been telling us about the show called Mobland, which is on Paramount, and it stars Helen Mirren and Pierce Bronson and a bunch of other very famous actors. And I was like, I don't really like mob stuff. It's kind of boring, but we'll watch it because we've heard so much about it. And I will say the first 5 episodes, gripping. Like I was in, I loved it. It was so good. And then round about episode 7, I was like, okay, we're going to finish watching it because I do want to know what's happened. And there's 10 episodes total. But we're now getting it to a point where someone's going to wake up and be like, it was all a dream.
Oh, no.
I can't, yeah, it's just like, this character would not, of course, I can't watch anything without criticizing it. So this character would never go do this thing. The motivation for this character to go do this plot-driving device is weak. I don't believe it. But whatever, this is what the writers coughed up in the writer's room, or they made up on the set. I have a great idea. What if ice cream is poisonous? I don't know, right? So, not loving that. But we had to buy a subscription because everything requires you buy a subscription to some fucking new streaming service. So we had to get Paramount. And I was like, I don't know, man. This is going to suck. The show will be fine, but then we're going to pay $8 and fine. We'd spend more going to the movies. So let's spend the $8 for a month and cancel it.
Right.
Imagine my delight when I tripped over seasons 4 and 5 of the UK comedy series Ghosts, plural, Ghosts.
Okay.
I screamed with joy. I bought seasons 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Saw it on an airplane. Not seasons 1 through 3, but whatever. Discovered it on an airplane. I found it. Found it on an airplane. And then got back to the States and bought seasons 1 through 3 because it's just a charming little show. So sweet. It's it's not wholesome, but so wholesome. It's so good. Like, it's everything you ever want out of life. And seasons 4 and 5 have not been available because of licensing rights, blah, 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 blah. Paramount had it. Paramount stupid app that I had to pay $8 for. So I watched season 4 and 5, and may I say, this show delivered. It's great.
Awesome.
The premise of the show, there's a U.S. version. I'm sure it sucks. I haven't seen it. Sorry, U.S. version. Maybe you're better, but it never happens when Americans replicate or do over British series, except for The Office. I think The Office is and Shameless. Those are the two series I can think of that were British series that did better in the U.S. than they did in Britain. Anyway, Ghosts. So the premise of the show is young married couple. She inherits a mansion from a very distant relative that she didn't know. Of course, it's falling down, and it's all about them trying to turn it into a B&B and make some money and earn a living, right? And it's haunted because it's hundreds of years old, and the ghosts don't want people there. And she basically has an accident, or was it, and falls out a window.
Oh, no.
Nearly dies, but when she comes back, she can see ghosts because she crossed over to the other side for a second.
Wow.
And the rest of the series is her interactions with these ghosts, right? And it is so, and they're all from different time periods. They even have like a ghost caveman or a caveman ghost, right? I know. And then if you think about it, when's the last time you've ever heard of a caveman ghost? You never do.
Never.
Right.
Like from the Victorian era.
Exactly. They never go back further than like the 9th century or something, right?
Right.
And so if there are ghosts, why aren't there any caveman ghosts? And I think we've had this conversation before, but if there are ghosts, why are they wearing clothes?
Right.
Clothes weren't living. So if there were ghosts, they would be naked people running around screaming, I'm dead. That's my bacon. That's everything. What a long bacon.
That's awesome.
But
That's great bacon.
Highly fucking recommend Ghosts.
All right, I'll check it out. And the Pee Wee Herman documentary, which you also recommended.
And watched and loved. Yes, and it is so good. It'll take you right back to the 90s, actually late 80s. I always think of Pee Wee Herman as like a 1990s sort of phenomenon, but no, very early 80s.
Was it really?
Yeah, like I think Pee Wee's Big Adventure? Yeah, came out in 84? 85? Really? I know, right? We must ask ChatGPT.
We must at some point, yes.
Yes. But anyway, that's my bacon. What about you? What's shaking bacon?
Nothing. I'm just working, and the dog got sick, so I had to take her to the vet a couple of times, and she's doing better now, thank God, but she's almost 12. She's 11 years old in 8 months.
Oh,
and that's old for a greyhound. So I'm thinking if we're lucky, we'll have another year with her, but probably not a year. So I'm hoping that everything goes well. I'm thinking that she's probably too old now for me to put in dog daycare, although the dog daycare that we go to has daycare for senior citizens. So I think that maybe it's okay.
Help me.
I don't know.
Okay, help me. Is that San Francisco speak for old dogs, or do they literally let senior citizens come in and babysit them for the day?
No, dog care for old dogs.
Oh, okay. I
said senior citizens. That was my use of the word. That I don't think they call it that. I think they call it senior dogs or something, but I said senior citizens and I meant dogs. The dogs are old and they take special care of them and they don't walk them as much. And, they take them out for, leisurely strolls and give them massages and things like that. So it sounds really awesome, actually. But pretty soon she's not going to be able to jump to get into the car anymore. And then that's going to be a problem because I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't get her to the vet. But we'll worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Future Juliette will figure out a solution. And I had that problem with Bobby, our dog. Yeah. And I got a ramp and he refused to walk up it.
That's what I have a ramp and I suspect that she will refuse to walk up it.
And I love Bobby so much. Like, I still have his ashes and I will not part with them. I will be buried with them. But he was just so dumb. He could not figure out how to walk up the ramp. I was like, you go upstairs. It's just stairs without the stairs.
Flat stairs.
But that was too advanced thinking for him. So Sophie's much smarter than Bobby was. He was a very special dog.
But she's very stubborn.
Okay. Good luck.
So, yeah, thank you. But that's really it. There's no real bacon other than that for me. Just the working and struggling with work and dog and struggling with the dog. And it's been a very struggle-filled week. So I will be glad when it all is behind me.
Oh, well, this will help because we're going to take on a struggle and discuss it.
Yeah.
And what could go wrong here?
Definitely help.
Any problem you have is going to look like nothing compared to this. So, yes.
So, all right. What are we talking about today? We're talking about a high-stakes corporate apology from one of the world's most powerful consulting firms, Boston Consulting Group, better known as BCG. On June 7th, 2025, which as we go to press is yesterday, BCG publicly disavowed and apologized for unauthorized work, quote unquote, done by two of its senior partners in connection with an Israeli-backed humanitarian foundation operating in Gaza. So what actually happened? Well, back in October 2024, two U.S.-based BCG partners began pro bono work to support the formation of an aid organization, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, known as GHF, aimed at delivering humanitarian supplies to Gaza. The effort was positioned as an independent, needs-based operation. But the problem was these two managers allegedly failed to disclose the nature and scope of the project and then went on to do further work without approval from BCG. And this wasn't just a bureaucratic mix-up. According to reports, the foundation had significant backing from Israeli interests, raising flags about neutrality, optics, and potential conflicts of interest. In a region where every move is political, neutrality isn't just ethical, it's strategic. The UN, long the principal provider of aid to Gaza, has called the project a fig leaf for displacement of Palestinians because it uses private contractors and the Israeli military to secure aid supplies to distribution centers located mainly in the south. Its executive director resigned last week, saying he did not believe the operation could comply with humanitarian principles of neutrality and independence. So that's a red flag. GHF distribution sites have also been the scene of unrest. As starving Palestinians have sought to reach supplies, Israeli troops have repeatedly been accused of shooting at people seeking aid. GHF temporarily halted aid efforts this week after the local health ministry said Israeli soldiers shot and killed at least 27 people and injured dozens as they waited for aid in southern Gaza. The BCG issued a public statement that was, more than just PR gloss. Here's a key quote. "We are shocked and outraged by the action of these two managing directors and partners. They have been exited from the firm. BCG disavows the work they undertook. It has been stopped, and BCG has not and will not be paid for any of their work." The apology continues, and we'll look at it in a minute, by admitting process failures, reiterating their commitment to internal standards, and pledging not to repeat the mistake. It's unusually direct language from a corporate entity. But things get complicated, even more complicated than things already are, this is clearly an attempt to draw a firm boundary between what you might call rogue actors and the institution of BCG. It's a classic move: isolate the problem, remove it surgically, and declare the body healthy again. But critics argue this might be too convenient. How did this kind of politically sensitive work slip past BCG's famously rigorous internal controls? If it did. What about broader control or structural issues that enabled two high-ranking employees to operate so independently? If they did. And of course, there's a broader ethical question. What responsibility does a global consulting firm have when engaging in humanitarian work in conflict zones? Transparency is essential. For other firms, this should be a wake-up call. Governance structures need more than compliance checklists. They need active oversight, especially when reputational risk is this high. For BCG, this is a chance to reassess its internal review processes and the moral framework it applies to client engagements. It's another reminder that apologies are easy, but accountability is harder. And institutions, no matter how glossy the website or prestigious the brand, are only as ethical as the people they empower. So what say you, Theo?
Oh, my God.
It's a big question.
It's
a big issue.
Hi, look over there. It's really shiny. Oh, what were we talking about? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Apologies Accepted, the podcast. Yeah. So, number one, I'm surprised they were involved at all.
Yeah.
I think
me too.
Wiser heads would have said, "Oh, no.
Let's avoid this minefield."
Let's not. As a secular humanist, I believe that all human life holds value and that everyone should be treated with dignity. I do appreciate that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is very complicated, that as an American, I have no fucking clue as to the intensity of feelings around it. I have friends who are Jewish. I have friends who lived and live in Israel. I have, being intentionally super vague here, I have a friend who has a friend. So their friend is not my friend, but this is a very dear friend. And their friend's father is still being held by Hamas from the horrible massacre. Oh my gosh, how many years ago was that now? It's like a year ago, 2 years ago. And so lots of feelings. I want to make certain that it's not careful. It's not, right. You can't even get into this conversation without declaring what side you're on. And I'll say I'm on the side of humanity. And I have a very loose understanding of the origins of this conflict, but a deep appreciation for and empathy and sympathy for the pain that people are feeling. Now, I have never been starving, right? Mm-hmm. I've had to wait a long time in a restaurant to order my food and have been annoyed and have used that word, right? But no, I wasn't starving. Yeah, and so without getting into the who's right, who's wrong in the conflict, because it's far too nuanced. There's way too many things. Everybody's got a point, right? I will say if Boston Consulting Group was accepting payment for their work, shame on them. I can see getting involved from a humanitarian aspect, and your work should have been pro bono. So it's been reported. Whether or not any of this is true, I don't know, right? So all I can say is what I have found in the news and then cite the sources. Can I find any of this now? Yes. Okay. So BCG claims work was done pro bono, but media reports suggest invoices may have exceeded $1 million per month. That's from the Times of Israel. On one hand, is there a potential bias there? Times of Israel. But on the other hand, could be true. I did also, just going to knit a couple of random points here, did also hear on a podcast that was produced by Al Jazeera. So it's an Al Jazeera production, and they were interviewing an aid worker in Gaza, and the aid worker explained that Yeah, food's coming through from, and I should know the name of GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, the the aid organization that BCG was helping, right, is sending food, but they're sending beans and pasta. They're sending dried food. What's the issue with that? Well, the issue with that is that beans and pasta need to be soaked in water. Guess what they don't have in Gaza? Water. So they're sending food that really can't be eaten. Okay. Huh. So reading this apology, I would say, would require being able to believe the sources, because I don't work for BCG. I haven't been to Gaza. I haven't seen this for myself, so I can only rely on the sources, and it's tough, right? So let's break the apology down, and let's talk about the things.
Okay, I can do that. I've got the apology itself.
That's safe.
So, yeah, we can do that. The apology was issued yesterday, June 7th, 2025, and was entitled Clarifying BCG Involvement with Aid in Gaza, and said, in October 2024, a BCG team from the U.S., led by 2 managing directors and partners, provided pro bono support to help establish an aid organization intended to operate alongside other relief efforts to deliver humanitarian support to Gaza. They failed to disclose the full nature of the work. These individuals then carried out subsequent unauthorized work. Their actions reflected a serious failure of judgment and adherence to our standards. We are shocked and outraged by the actions of these 2 managing directors and partners. They have been exited from the firm. BCG disavows the work they undertook. It has been stopped, and BCG has not and will not be paid for any of their work. We are acting with urgency and seriousness to learn from this and to ensure it does not happen again. We deeply regret that in this situation we did not live up to our standards. We are committed to living our values with accountability for our failures and humility in how we move forward. So that's the apology. Is that what you found when you looked for the apology as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So
that is the apology. Yes.
Yep. And let's evaluate the apology based on the widely accepted criteria for a strong public apology.
Yes. The apologies accepted, approved criteria.
The gold standard, yes. So number 1 is expression of regret. BCG opens the statement saying, we are shocked and outraged, and we deeply regret that in this situation we did not live up to our standards. So they did express regret. The language clearly conveys remorse, not just for the incident, but for the failure to uphold internal values. There was an explanation of what went wrong. They explained that 2 managing directors and partners began pro bono work supporting a Gaza aid organization, failed to disclose the nature and scope of their involvement, and continued unauthorized work under BCG's name. So the explanation is concise and transparent about the specific failures in judgment. There was partly an acknowledgement of responsibility. They say, we fell short of the trust that our clients and communities place in BCG. These actions reflected a serious failure of judgment and adherence to our standards. So they do accept organizational failure and take responsibility for not catching the issue, but they blame the 2 individuals and don't really look into any systemic or cultural flaws at BCG that enabled these 2 individuals to do what happened. And I think that there's no way those 2 people did this without BCG's knowledge. That's my own opinion based on my experience with nonprofit work.
With life.
At companies and with life.
With how things are fucking structured, yeah.
Yeah, how things work. That's just not how things work. So BCG is probably trying to blame these people who were acting with the approval from BCG, but I have no proof of that. So that's that. Declaration of repentance. BCG makes clear that we are acting with urgency to ensure it does not happen again. So they do communicate a desire to change and avoid repeating their mistake. And was there an offer of repair? They say that the individuals were fired, the work was stopped, they will not accept payment, and an internal investigation was launched. But there's no mention of outreach to anyone who is impacted, like humanitarian partners or Palestinian communities. So the repair that they offer is internal, not external, which is only a partially effective offer of repair. And finally, was there a request for forgiveness? There is no explicit request for forgiveness or reconciliation. And it's not, You see this a lot in corporate settings that people don't request forgiveness, but it can make the apology feel incomplete or transactional, especially in a case involving sensitive geopolitical and humanitarian stakes. So no request for forgiveness. And overall, I would give this an 8 out of 10. This is stronger than average corporate apology, especially for a firm like BCG. It's direct, takes concrete action, but it lacks meaningful engagement with external stakeholders and leans a bit too hard on the rogue actor narrative instead of deeper self-reflection. Do I accept this apology? No, because I think they're lying about the rogue actors. So maybe I should give it less than an 8. I'm not sure. I think, though, for an apology, it's an 8, but I don't believe it and I don't accept it. So there you go. What do you think, Theo?
So here we are. I also gave it an 8, right?
Wow.
But again, there's that conflict of like, it's not like, oh, what a great apology. And you guys, wow. Yeah. Because I don't believe that everyone didn't know, right?
Exactly.
What was happening. Can I believe that the powers that be at BCG didn't think that something bad was going to happen? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it, right?
Just surely they didn't think something bad would happen.
What could go wrong?
It's Israel. What could go wrong?
No, I mean, we're at the border of Israel and Palestine. What could possibly...
We're helping people.
Physical border, yeah. What could go wrong? So, yes, an 8 because I like the language. I think it's strong. Shocked is a really good, strong word, right? Mm-hmm. Disavow, absolutely a word you should use when you disavow something. And so I like the language. I like the firing of the 2 people. But, are the 2 people scapegoats? Maybe not. What do I know? Don't come for me, BCG. I don't have any money. You can't sue me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would not accept the apology because I don't believe it's sincere. But it is, on paper, it's a good apology.
Right. I agree.
So I would give it an 8. And then I also have that quandary of, should knock some points away but the word disavow goes a long way with me.
Really?
Yeah. So clearly they mean it. Use the word disavow.
Not just saying it.
Right. So yeah, it's an 8. Now, I wonder, what do you know about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Oh, my God.
Who's right, Juliette? What do you really think?
Well...
Oh, no, go on. I'm seriously asking. But,
I don't think anyone knows enough about it to make an informed judgment, really. I think it's so complicated that it is extremely difficult to understand who's right and who's wrong, and it's so complicated that maybe no one is right and no one is wrong. However, that said, when you're bombing people who are in line for aid, I think there's a problem.
Completely agree. I don't think we need to even go beyond that, right? Civilians should not be targets in war, right? Yeah. I have a very third grade understanding of the conflict. Like, I sort of know that Israel is the historic home to the Jewish people. And then for whatever reason, the diaspora, Israel kind of, the population spread out across the globe / the Eastern world. And then that in the 1940s? I know that the state of Israel was born in 1948 and came about post-World War II because Europe decided, and this is going to sound like I have a bias here when I say things like because Europe decided, but that's it. Like Western powers said, hey, Israel's now going to be the Jewish state so that there could be a safe place for Jewish people and they can have their own country. And that an Arabic population had been living there for centuries since the Ottoman Empire. And so for the Jewish people, it was a return to the homeland. And for the people that considered that land their home, this was an invasion, or this was Western imperialism. Both perspectives are right, in my view. I don't have answers for that, right? Because if I did, how selfish of me to keep them to myself. Right?
I knew you were going to try to solve the problem for everyone.
Well, it's the thing, though, right? It's like I have to.
Yeah.
And so I get all of that, and then I fall down. But even so, the roots are ancient. The conflict is ancient, and as a Westerner, like I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, I think that's wise, and
for sure.
also the only thing we can really do.
Israel has a right to exist and live in peace, and the Palestinian people have a right to exist and live in peace. Don't know how that happens because I don't know enough about the conflict, but it would be nice if it could get resolved so that was the eventual outcome. And, someone's always going to be unhappy. Someone's always going to be happier than maybe they should be. Yeah. And okay. So I'll also say this. I've been to Israel twice on vacation, and we did take a bus tour out to, oh my God, I forgot the name of the place already. It's not Mustafa. It's a fort. It's a Roman fort. Oh, if I said the name, you would know. And now I can't remember it. But whatever. It's a historic site, right? And there was a fort or a Jewish community, and the Romans came, and there was a great battle, and the Romans sort of like blocked it off for years and years, but somehow the people survived. Eventually it fell. And oh my God, I can't remember the name of that place. And it was fascinating and amazing. But on the bus ride through the barren desert on this dirt road, essentially, the bus was stopped by the Israeli army.
Yeah.
And a couple, I don't remember how many, but more than 2 soldiers with drawn machine guns.
Yikes.
Came onto the bus and just walked around and looked at people's papers. They didn't look at my papers, right?
Yeah.
They looked at other people's papers. And then I have a friend that lives in Israel, and he was explaining to me how tough it is for Palestinians to live for some Palestinians to live in Tel Aviv, and that they're treated like second-class citizens. And so here I go, right? Tough, very tough. As an outsider, I was able to have firsthand experience of the tension between the Jewish state and Palestinian people, and to hear from some people on a personal level their thoughts and feelings around it. I get the sense of fear that is in Israel. I was walking around Jerusalem by myself in the morning, right? Waiting for the shops to open because I'm going to spend my tourist dollars and I'm going to buy a clay lamp. I really want one. And I did. Wanted one so bad. And a truck backfired. And everybody, all of us, froze in place and looked at each other and looked around.
Right.
Because, of course, was it a bomb?
Right.
Was it a bomb? Will there be another one? What is it that actually happened? Right? There are soldiers walking around with machine guns. And in Israel, that made me feel a little safe, I'll be honest. Because it looks like the soldiers know what to do with the guns. And also they're in uniform. It's not some American Jimmy Joe Jim Bob walking around waving his gun in Walmart, right? So there are tensions there, and I can appreciate that fact. Outside of that, good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody. Well, oh, yeah, and the other point I want to make is on this GHF group, on this board, is a Trump advisor, a former Trump advisor.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
Now, anywhere I see a Trump advisor, I see a Christian evangelical. And so we do know that there is the whole push in some evangelical branches to bring about the end of the world. And it's got to happen in Israel. You got to be there, right? Because then Jesus comes.
Mm-hmm.
So shit's got to go down in Israel in order for Jesus to come back and reign for 1,000 years and make everything great. Of course, the Palestinians hold an opposing view to that, and the eradication of Israel is a cornerstone, was a cornerstone of Hamas political belief. I think it still is, but I think some of the rhetoric around that has softened. Don't know enough about that off the top of my head to say more, so Google it, everybody. But there are the twinings is the word I want to use, but let's use strains of opposing religious conflict. And there just isn't any sense in religious conflict. So is this going to end anytime soon? No, not until Jesus comes, apparently.
Well, maybe somebody will come and they'll think it's Jesus.
Oh, no. If they saw Jesus, they would stone him. No. He would give food to the poor. He would welcome in immigrants. No. And he's a person of color, Juliette. I mean, come on.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yes. We need a Swedish Jesus.
Yeah. Could happen. All right. So
on that note,
yeah. Do you have an apology expected, or who's sorry now this week?
Well, here we go again. An apology that will never be coming from Donald Trump, but I would like an apology from Donald Trump for calling out the National Guard in Los Angeles for what is called a mob uprising, which was really just a large group of civilians getting in the way of masked, unbadged, unidentified militaristic people showing up to round people up off of the street and stick them into unmarked cars to drive them away somewhere. Yeah. So,
terrible.
I wonder what the problem is there. And that's an apology that will never be forthcoming. We will see what happens in Los Angeles. Feels like it could become a flashpoint. Certainly, it marks the beginning of an escalation of the Trump administration's war on immigrants and innocent people. What about you?
I heard they were talking about sending the Marines in now.
I mean, if they send the Marines in, I will go join a protest.
Will you?
When they send, I will. Won't do it now. Because there aren't any. There aren't any protests at the Texas state capitol.
Be that one on is it the 14th and No King's Day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I'll go to that one.
I will definitely join that just to increase the show support, right?
Yeah.
Bodies in the street. Will I stay for the full 5 hours? No.
Oh, it's the 5 hours?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't have to. Just show up.
Exactly. I mean, I've protested before. Admittedly, I was selfishly looking for a boyfriend in a gay rights demonstration, but
did you find one?
No. That's why I kept going.
Oh
well. But the effort was there, and then gay rights were won. Yay, and now they'll be lost.
Yay.
Boo.
Thanks to you.
Well, yeah. Thanks to me and not being able to find a boyfriend, people now have the right to get married.
Yay.
Yeah, so, all right, enough of that nonsense. We're all looking forward to No King's Day on June 14th. I will be marching. And if the Marines come out, I strongly suspect that some people in Austin will be like, this is fucking crazy. I need to get down there and wave some signs so that this hits a newspaper, so that a senator might actually see that some of his constituents are a bit pissed off about the Marines coming out against civilians.
Agreed.
And we'll see what happens.
Yep. And I have an apology expected, but it's an apology expected with a question mark after it. And it is a recent study by Bence Hamrack at the London School of Economics found that politicians who publicly apologize for misconduct, particularly in cases like sexual harassment, do not receive more favorable evaluations from voters and may actually harm their chances of re-election. Using survey experiments, the study showed that voters often perceive apologies as admissions of guilt or weakness, while politicians who deny wrongdoing may be seen as more confident or in control. This suggests a troubling incentive structure. Despite public expectations of accountability, political figures may be discouraged from apologizing because it offers no reputational benefit and can even backfire. Now, this was a review of surveys, like it said, survey studies. So, it's sort of questionable in a way. Those aren't the most reliable studies that exist, but sometimes it's kind of hard to do any other type. But so whether or not this study is true, I think remains to be seen. I'd like to see some more studies on this, but I thought it was interesting, and it certainly seems to be true among some groups of people. So maybe I say MAGA probably are among those people who would more favorably evaluate politicians who don't apologize rather than ones who do. So, FYI, little note.
Yeah, there is kind of that alpha male thing around never apologize, right?
Right.
And I say alpha male, yet we covered Patti LuPone last week, and she famously just not apologized until recently for outraging people. But yeah, so alpha doesn't have to be alpha male. The alpha move.
Alpha female.
Just alpha genderless.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha non-binary.
Alpha. I was just going to say that, but I couldn't remember the non-binary because they've erased wokeness and I've forgotten the proper terminology.
Yes. Well, thank God there's no more wokeness.
Thank God.
And on that note,
let us pray to him now.
Let us pray to God and Jesus, the man of color. All right, so that's it. We had a bit of a heavy episode, but yes.
But we solved
next
it.
Week, we solved it, and everything's good now. And next week, maybe we'll do something light, like popcorn and bubblegum apology.
Oh, is there one?
We'll find one.
Okay, yeah, I bet we will.
So on that note, stay cool, cucumbers.
Don't trip potato chip. Bye everyone.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.